historically, city kind of built on protests and stuff is from the last 200 years up till now. So in this, modern age, what's the importance of protesting and standing up for what you believe in and fighting for different causes?
Well, Sheffield's got a great radical tradition, you're right. I mean, from the suffragettes to the campaign against slavery to the trade union movement. It reflects the importance of people standing up for their rights, as you say, but understanding that nothing comes necessarily without struggle. I was celebrating International Workers' Memorial Day the other day, which is recognising the advances have been made in health and safety law to protect people from injury and accidents at work. That didn't come because it was gifted to people. It came because people in factories and in working environments organised themselves to achieve those gains.
I was just going to ask about your talk with the Sheffield Trade Union in the town parliament. Is that trade unions and workers' rights and that stuff? Is that sort of that kind of a protest you heavily support?
Well, I've been a trade union member all my life. I think if people don't stand up for their own rights in the workplace, then they won't get the rights in the workplace. Of course, it makes sense for good employers to listen to what people want and to actively engage and to address their concerns, but it doesn't always happen, and there are lots of bad employers. I mean, I've had a run-in with the head of Sports Direct over some of the conditions in his Shirebrook distribution centre. That's a great example of people being trodden over if they don't stand up for their rights.
Workers' rights aside, is there any other kind of either Sheffield specific or nationwide or even worldwide kind of protests and activism that you support today? Is there any ones that you're particularly support?
Well, I mean, it's not so much protests. I mean, they're a means to an end. It's the causes, isn't it? I mean, I got involved in politics through the anti-apartheid movement when I was still at school, and that was a heavily involved protest, but it was protest with an objective of isolating the apartheid regime in South Africa and bringing about political conditions for change and democracy, which ultimately we did, working with the ANC in South Africa. But there are still many hugely important causes: challenging inequality, challenging the growing abuse in workplaces, standing up for climate change policies, where this government is backing off, abolishing the Department for Climate Change, abolishing the Cabinet post for climate change, backing off on solar energy and on onshore wind power. So there's lots of issues on which we need political change, and protest is one of the ways of getting that.
And finally, one of the biggest kind of most notorious protests that happens in Sheffield and most causes is tree felling and the amount of protests that happen there. And obviously, earlier this year and towards the end of last year, there was quite a few arrests in that for the protest. How do you feel about kind of seeing protests be arrested when they appear to be kind of peaceful protests? How do you feel about seeing police kind of arrest and suppress these protests?
Well, I thought it was wrong for the police to use trade union legislation to arrest those protesters. I spoke to the Police and Crime Commissioner about it. He then carried out a review and made a very clear statement that it wouldn't happen again, and it hasn't.
And so do you think tree protests will be carried on and kind of fighting for the nature of keeping trees in Sheffield?
Well, it's not a question of keeping trees in Sheffield. There has always been a programme of replacing trees with new trees, and that's what's happening at the moment. We're seeing a concentrated number because of the Streets Ahead roads maintenance programme, but I'm sure that people continue to raise concerns, and I think that the most important thing is that there is transparency in the way that the issue is dealt with, which is why I press for an independent tree panel, and why I've continued to push the council to ensure its recommendations are considered. Because some trees will have to come down, they are diseased, they are decaying, they are good. One was taken down in the street, somebody raised a concern with me the other day. I checked it out, it was diseased. And when I explained that to the local residents, they said,
brilliant. Good. Thank you very much.